This is the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Wilmer behind the back, spinorama, he scores! What a goal by Jeremy Wilmer!
Discussion.
Into the net with a shot, he scores! Oh, and Mike goes 4-2, Western Michigan.
Opinion.
Back into the near circle, fires, he scores! Hysteria here in Hockey Valley as Penn State upsets number 2 Minnesota.
Special guests and your listener questions.
The icing is waved and it's over! Western Michigan has won it. The Broncos are the Frozen Four champions of 2025.
Taking you through the world of college hockey, here are your hosts, Adam Roden and Mike McMahon.
And welcome, everyone. Here we are for another week of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. Mike McMahon on assignment. He'll be back with us next week, but the games are sparse in the coming weeks, so it's more like specials, I suppose. No team of the week this week. We've got Anthony Noreen, the head coach of Miami. We will hear from him. Good chat with him. And also more talk about Matthews Arena shutting down. And Dick Umile, former New Hampshire coach, will check in with us. He was at the ceremonies last week and also at the final game at Matthews, which we were there as well. We've got a couple articles on College Hockey News as we speak. And that last week with all the dignitaries, we had a picture on our site. So it's been around with everybody who had showed up. Basically, anyone was invited to take a final twirl on the ice, as it were. A couple guys in their 90s, so not everybody took them up on that offer, but it was our buddy Bernie Corbett was there, prominently poking his head out in that picture. If you take a look at the picture, we have the caption on the site, which shows who was there. I'm just going to run down the names right here. Jerry Keefe is the current head coach at Northeastern. Jim Madigan, former head coach, now AD. Mike Levine, Paul Canada, Bill O'Neill, Dick DiCaprio. I mean, these are all local legends. Keith Elaine, the recently retired Yale coach. Joe Bertagna, former Hockey East commissioner. Bill Bowes, Bob Bertagna, Bob Deraney, longtime coach as well. Larry O'Donnell, Scott Borick, current Merrimack coach. Matt Harlow, Zach Helfant, and then Ben Smith, the former Northeastern coach, played at Harvard and was the women's national team coach for a while. Jerry Boyle, Tim Flynn, Jack Parker, of course, was there telling stories from what I understand. I'm sure they were beauties. We'll look forward to having him on again soon. Reminisce a bit more. Stu Irving, Richie Green, Mike Gilligan, former Vermont coach. Steve Cedarchuk, the ill-fated former Boston College coach. Ted Donato, the current Harvard coach, of course. Brendan Sheehy, longtime Hockey East director of officials, who's now retired. Peter Cahill, Jerry York, the legend. Brian DeRocher, former BU women's coach, among other things. Jim Higgins, who was a BU alum, coached at Princeton for a while before Tucahoon. Jim Stewart, Bruce Crowder, also coached at Northeastern. Jock O'Connelly, longtime Boston Herald scribe. Bob Leonard, Bernie Corbett, as I said. Bill Cleary, to me, that was sort of the big one. The guy's in his 90s now, just an absolute legend. You know, Bill Cleary, the former coach at Harvard, was a star in the early days of college hockey, went on to become an Olympic hero, a referee before he actually became a head coach. That is the one interview, and I got to do it. I mean, really, what am I waiting for to talk to Bill Cleary? You realize the Olympics this year are going to be just about in the same area in Italy, which is where Bill Cleary and his Americans won the silver medal in Cortina in 1956. And, of course, in 1960, they won the gold medal at in Squaw Valley in California. So, wow, just a lot of history there. And, by the way, last but not least in the picture there, Mike Milbury was sort of in the back poking his head. Just, hey, who invited this guy? Yeah, as an Islander fan, it's triggering. But he Colgate alum, New England native, so he was there, not doing much else these days. Just saw an article in. I mean, it's not the kind of Schadenfreude kind of article I would write, but it was. I did chuckle just because, as an Islander fan, I mean, laugh instead of cry. But I think the Athletic put on a piece because they were talking about Kevin Adams, who is the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres, who just got let go, and who's a Miami alum, by the way, just got replaced with Jarmo Kekalainen, who's a Clarkson alum. But they were saying the worst, longest tenured GMs in history, and of course Mike Milbury was number one right there. So thank you very much. I mean, tried to give the guy a benefit of the doubt at first because he was there through disastrous ownership issues, but he just didn't do himself any favors as the years went on. Oh man. Anyway, hey, better days ahead for the Islanders. So all right, we'll talk about Matthews Arena more in a bit. But this past week, college hockey, just again, light schedule. Mike's not here, so just running down what has happened recently in college hockey. There was definitely some interesting things in this past week. Minnesota State continues to be unbeatable on Fridays. They beat Arizona State, but then they lost. Saturday's been the bugaboo. It's the pattern continued, so they split that series. Likewise, Denver and St. Cloud splitting, so good job by them. Miami and Colorado College, 2 overtime games at Miami, and they went to shootout both nights and split them. And North Dakota, the only one with the sweep there against Omaha, as goaltender Jan Spoonar, who we've talked about recently as they were team of the week, 9-0 start, the best start for a goaltender in North Dakota history, and that has included a lot of people, including the legendary Ed Belfour. So, wow, kudos to Jan Spoonar. And Saturday, Gibson Homer came in and got the start in the win, so not forgotten. And there you go. And CCHA had really interesting Augustana and Minnesota State. Augustana is now up to 11 in the pairwise. They defeated Minnesota State on Friday, 3-1. The two teams tied on Saturday. So if you take a look at the ratings, Augustana is 11, Minnesota State is 10, and 2 formidable teams right now in that conference. Augustana still has some games here coming up soon, the next few weeks around the holiday time, that will go a long way toward determining their at-large potential here for the NCAA tournament. But they would be in there if it ended today, so there you go. And elsewhere, of course, as we mentioned, Matthews Arena closing, and a bit of an auspicious ending there with Boston University scoring 2 late goals in the closing minutes to win that game 4-3 at BU at Northeastern. Of course, the BU program lore, they played at Matthews Arena when it was Boston Arena for a long time. And then Walter Brown Arena was built. Now they're in Agganis Arena, but then Northeastern bought the building outright and changed the name to Matthews Arena. So that's the lineage of that. But didn't dampen the mood too much. Losing that game in the closing minutes, certainly was not the storybook they wanted, but a very touching tribute at the end of the game. The building is old; it's falling apart, but it's their building, right? If you played in it so many times, coaching it so many times, been there as a fan so many times, it's yours. You feel it. It's. I'm sure we all have that in our fandom, where a building which you don't want to see torn down, even though you know that from an outsider's perspective, it's time, I suppose. The only other thing I should mention, last but not least, that's for sure, was Dartmouth finally losing a game. Now, they defeated Army on Friday, but then Sunday playing New Hampshire. And New Hampshire's now won 5 in a row. If there was going to be a team in the week, it might be them. But we will have an interview with Mike Souza on our website soon, the New Hampshire coach. But 5 in a row. And Dartmouth tied that game late and then killed off a penalty that carried into overtime, but wound up losing in the 3-on-3 overtime. And even when they got to overtime, it already had given them a blemish, which they hadn't had. They were perfect 11-0, all in regulation up to then. So even if they had won in overtime, it still would have been somewhat of a blip. But so they get the overtime loss, which on the road is essentially a tie, and but no longer perfect, as it were. And as people have been asking me for weeks now, what's going to happen when Dartmouth finally loses? Are they going to drop like a stone? Because their strength of schedule is just about the worst in the country if you look at it. As a matter of fact, you can go to the CHN Power Ratings page that actually gives schedule strength relative to at least that rating system, and they're now 51st. They were lower before playing New Hampshire, but 51st out of the 63 teams in strength of schedule. But that did not hurt them all that much. They're still number 2 in the MPI, 59.73 rating. Michigan, big leap ahead now at 60.12. And then Wisconsin and North Dakota, Michigan State, Denver, and Minnesota Duluth are just behind. And so that, Dartmouth, 2 games coming up against Arizona State. We've been talking about that for weeks here in the podcast about how much that would be interesting to keep an eye on, certainly for both teams, but a good test for Dartmouth coming up soon, and we'll see how they react to that. All right. We will take a break here. We will come back, and we will talk to Miami coach Anthony Noreen.
Class, today we're talking men's ice hockey. Open your textbooks. Join thousands of other screaming fans for an in-person experience you have to see to believe. It's the NCAA Men's Frozen 4, April 9th and 11th in Las Vegas. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/mfrozen4.
How many teams are in the Men's Frozen 4?
Please leave.
All right, welcome back to the College Hockey News Insiders podcast, and we have a chat with Anthony Noreen, the head coach at Miami. They haven't quite been Team of the Week yet, but they came through Denver a couple weeks ago. I figured it was a good chance to catch up, and we talked after we talked the next day on the phone, and just FYI, this was before their weekend against Colorado College. So it was coming off of the weekend against Denver, and they had a pretty respectable, good, weekend here as Miami tries to build the pieces. I mean, Anthony Noreen is a guy who just you hear him, and I joke with him about it. Very optimistic. I said, we'll see how you are in 5 years, but has a very positive outlook on things, and it's really infectious with the team, and it's really what they need. And in terms of also being able to sell the program to recruits after it had fallen on hard times, and just to be able to say this is a place you want to be, and how to go about it, and the guys you can bring in just mean everything to them at this point. But he's realistic about where they stand right now. He knows that they have a long way to go, but the signs this year are certainly positive. They're not fluky. They strike you as being the signs of building blocks that are coming, not something that's going to disappear. And even though, 21 newcomers, and another one we'll get to in a second, and who knows, the way that college sports is right now, you're probably going to say goodbye to a handful of those guys when they don't want to, and other guys will leave because they do want to, and you didn't want them to. And it's going to be this continual shuffling of the deck that's a little more chaotic, or a lot more chaotic than it used to be when you were rebuilding a program, when you can just kind of do it step by step and know what you were getting. But it's like a constant whack-a-mole, basically, as to what you're doing. But they're not alone. So in that regard, it's the way it is these days, and they've got some great players to build on. Hopefully, we'll see if they stick around. I hope for their sakes that they do. That top line that includes Coach Delich, the freshman Mateo Jampa, a junior who transferred from Canisius, and Ilya Morozov, the 17-year-old Russian who expects to go first round in next year's draft. And we'll be having stories on a lot of these guys as we come up on the website. Vladislav Lukashevich, the Michigan State transfer, another Russian. Now, speaking of Russians, there was one who did not wind up coming. they had a goaltender from Russia that they were trying to get in, highly touted and all that, had been in the USHL. They could not get him eligible according to the NCAA, and it just wasn't happening. They were hoping to get it done by now so they could have him for the second semester, and they just don't have an answer yet, so they didn't know what was going on. So basically, though, Mateo Drobak, who has started every minute of every game so far this year, well, they decided to bring in their backup plan, and Mathis Langevin from the Quebec Junior League, Major Junior, in midseason, and this, of course, caused a bit of a stir. Now, Miami had been talking to him for a while, and, they could have maybe brought him in next year or to see maybe if this year, but that it's always up to him, of course. He's with his Major Junior team. And so Miami didn't know and what they were going to do. I mean, at this point, but they probably made another call just to see where his head was at. And Langevin had an unbelievable stretch run last year in the Memorial Cup for Rimouski, who he had gotten traded to, wound up becoming the number one in the playoffs and had an amazing playoff. But this year, he saw his number one job go to somebody else, and he had been inconsistent so far this year instead of a backup role. Now, he still may be a backup to Drobak when he comes to Miami, at least for now. But, there was an article actually today. It's a French-language newspaper which I've translated here, where they talked to Langevin about his decision and some interesting stuff. Obviously causing a big stir there, leaving midseason. Now, the thing is, we haven't seen an exodus. Some people, maybe not yet. Maybe there will be. I don't know. Because, we are on the semester break for most schools, and this is the time where you can get somebody in to start the second semester, normal academic calendar. And then we haven't seen a lot of players leave either, which some of the people in Canada seem to think would happen. Like, they'll go check out the NCAA, realize it wasn't all as cracked up to be, and then come back. Well, we haven't seen that either yet, again, so at least to this point. But Langevin talked about, his disappointment not getting drafted last year, his, losing his number one spot, and he said that the people at Rimouski were very honest with him about the fact that they were looking to trade him, but he wasn't sure what that would mean. I mean, might wind up going to a team that really wasn't very good, and that's why they would need him. So he thought that Miami was a better fit, and that he's been talking to them for a while, and so that was really the gist of it. They mentioned here I was good friends with Justin Poirier, who is on Maine, and we had an article on him on College Hockey News recently about how well he is doing for Maine. As a matter of fact, Poirier's got 17 goals so far this year for Maine as a freshman, and that is, I believe, second in the country behind Michigan's Will Horkoff for most goals, and so that obviously the most for any freshman. I mean, the next highest is Porter Martone at 11, and Marcus Vidicek of Quinnipiac also has 11. So, talked to Poirier, and obviously he's doing well, and he said it didn't have an impact on his final decision, but he did give a lot of advice. So there you go. So now Miami can say that I guess they're going to have two goaltenders who they will play. I mean, they have another guy who they have on their roster who has not played, but I'd imagine Langevin is going to get the opportunity now to play some games. So again, this conversation with Miami coach Anthony Noreen took place prior to any of this really being known, so it is not mentioned in there, just FYI. But the team is headed to the Great Lakes Invitational to play Michigan Tech, and then the Ferris State and Michigan State are the other teams in that, so we'll see where that winds up. But we did talk to Noreen about playing in the Great Lakes Invitational as well, and how cool that was, because since they obviously just came off winning the championship of the Friendship 4 tournament in Northern Ireland. So here he is, without any further ado, Miami coach Anthony Noreen. Obviously an elite test against Denver. I mean, What's the mood been after that, weekend? I mean, the guys feeling pretty good despite the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar to what it's been every week with this group, which is just let's get back to work and let's learn from it. I think that's why our team's been able to grow. We've been able to get better. That's why these are the guys we brought in here to rebuild this thing. I thought we had a much needed day off. Obviously, after 2 weeks of travel, we had a much needed day off on Monday. It's also finals week for our guys, so gave them Monday to kind of get some recovery. Get with our trainer if needed, get ready for finals week, and we got back to it today and do the same thing tomorrow and Thursday and get ready for a really good Colorado college team. Would be the same way if we had gone in there and won.
Yep, I hear you. Stepping back here a bit, obviously coming from Northern Ireland, I mean, that was nice, clearly. But just talk about the experience of doing that. I assume, maybe not. I mean, most of your people have never been there before. Yeah,
I mean, most of our staff and players, the majority had never been to Europe before. The majority had never been out of North America. So obviously that was, that experience alone was unbelievable. And I give our university and our athletic department a ton of credit for, we're the first NCHC team to go over there. And when it came up, our athletic director was sitting next to me, David Taylor, in the meeting where they came and proposed it to the entire NCHC. And David didn't even hesitate. He said, hey, if we could do this, the school would get behind it. I think we should do it. And our president got behind it, as, our hockey players don't get a chance to study abroad because of our season spanning both semesters. So our president was behind it, and then Brad Okel, who oversees hockey, and his team did everything they could to, get it together. And obviously it was just a first-class experience. We did it right. We played Saturday night against St. Cloud. We got on a plane Sunday. We flew direct over there. Spent Monday in Dublin. Took a bus over on Tuesday to Belfast, and we're able to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in Belfast, and Friday and Saturday games. And again, I don't think there was one part about it in which the people putting on the tournament oversold, and under-delivered. I think that everything they said, if most of it exceeded our expectations. The crowds were great. The hotel was great. The meals were great. We had a big group. I think we had just over 100 people at our Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday night. And I was really proud of our guys. I think they kept hockey at the forefront.
Right.
We did some tours and we did a bunch of stuff during the day, but they were in the hotel early every night, and we were able to put together 3 really good practices. I thought it led to us having great starts on both Friday and Saturday night, even Saturday on the short rest for us with the late game. On Friday, I thought against a really good Union team, we had a great start, and we found ways both nights. And for our program, it was important. It was important to feel those games, to feel playoff type games, to be in that type of atmosphere, to have that experience where something is on the line. And I think it's just an experience that guys, from a life experience and a hockey experience that they'll take with them forever. And that was what we hoped in going there. And I think it kind of checked every box.
Yeah, absolutely. I really wish I could get over there at some point, But what was the most fun aspect or interesting thing that you saw on your way there while you were there?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of sites that we saw. I mean, the team went to the Game of Thrones Museum on Monday, which a lot of people liked. The Giants Causeway was amazing just to see the site of that. On Wednesday, I mean, for me, I thought the school visit on Thursday. Again, this is a city that's not very far removed from a lot of violence. In a city that was split. And so to know a little bit and be told a little bit of that history all week, and then to go visit a local school and see, I mean, the joy on these kids' faces, the instructor at the school told me, he's like, this is like Christmas Day for these kids. They've been counting down the days. So you guys are going to come see them. And I thought our guys were amazing with the kids. They were totally present. Just did a great job. I just thought it was awesome. And those kids, each team visited some schools. Those kids then had a team to root for. So we brought them signs. We brought them, things, the Miami stuff, just like the other schools did. And then they rooted for us all weekend, and it was great. And then obviously, listen, the moment at the end in the game and watching our guys go out and get the bell and that whole thing. I mean, again, what it meant for our program, what we're trying to build, what we've been through. I just thought to see that moment, was special. And I think it's like, hey, we want more of these moments. We want to find our way into more of these situations. We've been here, we felt it. This is why we do what we do. And so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And please, by the way, don't take this the wrong way. Hear me out. Because I say, so far people have said like, oh, Miami was 6-0, who'd they play? that kind of thing. I'm sure you heard it. I mean, I'm not telling you anything new, but I've always felt that's irrelevant. I mean, you're building up confidence, you're getting wins, you're having moments like that. I mean, then you can be ready for the bigger teams, I guess I could say. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't listen. I would when we were 6-0 or whatever our record was. I don't read any of that stuff. Like, I should be man in the arena. Like, we know what we're going through here. We know what we've been through here. We've got 21 new guys. And those games, like the games this past weekend in Denver, we had 19 of our 21 guys in the lineup were not here last year. And so we are in a total tear down to the studs rebuild, and it's a culture based rebuild. It's a characters compete, and every day that we have together matters, and we really have no care or worry or anything of anyone outside of here. Obviously, we know who we represent here. These guys know where they came from, and they know why they picked here.
Yeah.
And they picked here to be part of something bigger than themselves. That has very little to do with what our record is this year. Even if we would have been 0-6, that wouldn't have changed. What we care about is how we play the game and who we are every day and how we carry ourselves and what the pride level is in getting Miami to where we want to get it. And that's full stop. Like, could care less, could not care less about anything wrote, like nothing. That's what you guys do. But we've got enough to worry about right here. And again, college hockey's tough. It's demanding. I don't care who you play any night, any weekend, like anything can happen. And I think the beginning of this year's season was a great example of that. If you look at some of the games, you look at the games on the schedule, you play the games on the schedule, you put yourself in a position to be competitive. And I think our guys have done that. And we've got a long way to go. Like, even, obviously people, it's a great start. Like, I'm like, we're not even close to where we need to be.
Right.
We're not even close to where we want to be, but we're going to keep working to get there. And that's an ever evolving situation. And that's the chase that we are on.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my point is, like, I'm actually defending the fact that, confidence is a great drug, I mean, like, if you get the confidence from that for a team that hasn't had anything, that goes a long way, I think. So I don't know.
Yeah, and again, just everything about our program and the momentum and like some recruiting battles that we've been able to win. Like, coming out a couple weeks ago on a Friday night and playing in front of the first sellout crowd here, and I think it was 11 years.
Yeah.
On a Friday night against St. Cloud, and following it up with a similar crowd the next night. Like, those are all steps that we need to take. And those are reasons, again, like I said, we have plenty of guys that chose Miami that had other options and came here to be part of this. And they believe in what we're building. Like I said, we're a far way away from where we want to be. But the fun part is we get to be part of that every day. So that's what we're worried about.
No, absolutely. And you need all these steps along the way, right? I mean, there's not a fast track. So, but it's funny. I was looking at your roster, and you've got Nicholas Mikan on there. This is complete aside, by the way. I was like, wait a minute, there's a kid named Mikan from Minnesota. I mean, like, so I started digging around. I don't even know if you guys, it's not on your website, but he's like the great grandson of George Mikan. So.
Yes, he is.
Has that come up? Because it's not even on it's not on his bio at all. I had to go digging 10 years back.
Listen, he's his own man.
No, sure.
We don't want to think about that, but it is an interesting fact, like, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Where did that come up at all? I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago, and I've been Mike and named like DePaul is obviously was maybe not so anymore, but when I was growing up, it was like a basketball powerhouse. That's who we followed in college when I was a kid, and so you just know the Mike and name. And when I heard that right away, it's obviously one of the first questions you ask. I'm like, yeah, it is, and he's a big kid, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep growing too. Have you seen my family? I'm like, yeah, I hope you do.
No, I just thought that was interesting. I just because it's not mentioned anywhere. I went back and I Googled I think 3 pages deep. I found some article from when he was 10 years old, when he was playing for Snuggerud, his dad.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I was like, okay, well, at least I was right on my instinct there. But anyway, so now that we talked last year before the season when you came on, and how your philosophy was, but so much has changed just in the last year in terms of recruiting. I mean, now that you've had a chance to absorb, the last, 10 months since the major junior rule changed and all that jazz. I mean, what has that been like? I mean, has it changed how you approach where obviously you have to go to different places to see these guys now?
There's no doubt. I think the workflow has changed. I guess how you allocate your resources and your time has certainly changed. I think some leagues have suffered because of that, and that's unfortunate, but just the truth. And I think, obviously you have to be looking at the 3 new leagues that are available. Obviously there's some great players there, and, we got 2 players directly from the OHL. We got a player from the Western League. We got 2 guys from U Sports who had both played in the OHL, and we've got a guy committed in the Quebec League. We got guys committed in the OHL. So we have to keep an eye on that. We have to know what's going on. I think the most important thing is you don't change your overall recruiting philosophy. That stays the same. We know what we're looking for. We know who we want to be. We're going to stick to that. We're not going to bend on it. We're going to do our homework on guys, and not just because maybe a guy's running numbers in a league and he's new and he's available, not get overly hyped up on that, but make sure that we do the same due diligence we've done on every other guy.
Right.
I think sometimes, the new toy is exciting, and it's like, okay, let's make sure we stick to who and what we are. And I think, between David Nyes and Troy Thibodeau and Leo Marone and, just our staff, and obviously David leads that, has done a really good job of just sticking to, like I said, who and what we want to be. Obviously USHL is still extremely important to us. And when we took over here, it was like, okay, that's going to be our bread and butter. That's where we're, our main recruiting source. And I think it's continued to be that, but also now you're looking at the 3 new leagues. You've got to be mindful of the transfer portal. There's a lot of moving parts. I just think you stick to your core values and who and what you want to be. You make sure you do as much homework as you possibly can, and the player pool, because obviously it's changed massively since we've gotten here. And you decide who you want, and you do everything possible to make sure that player and that family feels like you have the best opportunity for them to reach their goals.
Well, and what do I've asked a lot of people this question, so just always curious everyone's opinion, but what's going to happen with your old buddies in the USHL? I mean, are you concerned about where that's headed? I mean, if kids from the U.S. now say, I'm just going to go to major junior now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you hope it's like anything else where a high tide raises all ships, and maybe and that's what I hope in will happen, is that it raises the standards, the league. There's a lot of pride there. Obviously, that league's done an unbelievable job of being the number one, source for Division I college hockey players for as long as anyone else can remember. And there's some great organizations there, some great coaches, there's some great players there, and there will always be. It's going to be interesting to see what the moving parts are going to be as far as, them in combination with the CHL potentially and things like that. Does the NHL get involved? I don't know. But I'm sure it's something they're continuing to work at every single day. And listen, we've got a lot of players that are committed to us that are still playing there. We've still spent a really good portion of our time in that league. And again, like I said, we've got a ton of respect for a lot of the coaches, GMs, and management ownership groups in that league. And I'm sure they're gonna find a way.
Yeah. Now, the other thing everyone always wants to know these days, and I guess a relatively small school, but it's a good school, obviously. But I mean, what kind of resources are available? Not just, when you talked last year, you said, "Oh, I have no concern that I have all the resources needed." But now there's it seems like every day more is needed. You know what I mean? To keep up with everybody. So
listen, it's ever evolving, and I think the biggest thing here is this university and our athletic department are totally committed to being in the NCHC and to supporting this program the way that we all see as fit in order to compete in the NCHC. And again, we just feel like in college hockey and the type of players and families that are looking to go the college hockey route, what are the boxes you're looking to check? I don't think this is nothing against college football or college basketball where it's dollars and how much are you paying me? You look at all the reasons that Nick Saban left college football. I don't think our sport is at that point. I don't even think it's close. I think these families are looking for a great school where their kid could get a first-class education. I think they're looking for a place where, hey, I dropped my son off here. I know he's safe. I know he's taken care of. I don't need to worry about outside riffraff influencing him or putting him in an unsafe position. I think they're looking for an opportunity for him to develop and make sure that the strength program, the sports science program, the on-ice development is there. Obviously, playing in a great league is there. We check those boxes. Like, I don't even think it's close. As far as, like, a place you can't imagine there's a safer campus in America. Can't imagine there's a more beautiful campus. We have a great academic opportunity here. We play in an unbelievable conference, and there's opportunity to walk in and play right away.
Yeah, right.
So, like, to me, that's what people are picking schools based on.
Yeah.
You know, the financial side, obviously, is that a factor? Yes. Like, I don't think it's really for the great majority of college hockey players. I do not think that is the end all be all factor in them picking a school. I think it just coincides where, hey, there's a lot of schools that do have resources, but they also check a lot of boxes too.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I don't think if there was a school that had, they didn't treat their players well, they didn't have a great strength coach, they didn't have a good facility, but they were paying guys. Like, I don't know if that's going to put you over the top, maybe like it does in other sports.
Oh,
you know
for
what
sure,
I mean?
for sure.
I think someone's going to come here, they're going to see our facility, they're going to meet our strength coach, they're going to learn about the university, see the NCHC, and be like, okay, hey, this is, if that's what they're looking for, we feel like we have what there is to offer. And that's what we're going to continue to recruit based on.
It's not huge money, and I agree with you for the most part, but it's got to be maybe a little frustrating. I don't know if some Big Ten school can just throw a guy $50,000 to put him over the top, and maybe you can't do that. I don't know.
Listen, I look at it like it's those are the rules, and that's the world we live in. And I still think, look at some of the teams that have won at this level, and some of the resources and size of schools and things like that. And is that changing? Maybe, but It's still the ultimate team sport.
That's the beauty of it.
It is the absolute beauty of it. You could get two guys out of the portal, and maybe you make a run to the Final Four in basketball. Like, that is not our sport. Obviously, you need the horses and you need talent, but it is still a team sport. And you need to get the best team and the best teammates. Obviously, you need talent as well, but I don't know if we're necessarily a sport where one guy or two guys is are they going to be difference makers? Yes. Are they going to be the end all be all? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, we're going to find out, I guess, a little bit more towards the end of this year.
And listen, that's nothing. Good for any school. I'm always a believer in, like, man, anyone who could push the envelope and help our sport grow and incentivize players and things like that. I don't necessarily always think it's a bad thing. It's just it's the landscape that we're in. So you make your vision and you adjust accordingly.
I kind of root for everybody. You know what I mean? People always tell me, "Oh, you're biased," and I'm not really biased towards anybody or for anyone. I like everybody, so I want everybody to be able to do well. So
absolutely.
I worry about it from that standpoint. Like, I don't want to see, I don't want it to be like that same 10 teams every year. So then I talk to the old school guys, and they're always like, I'm done with this stuff. Is it really cutthroat out there? I mean, because you see a lot of times these transfers, and you wonder, who's talking to who, and agents are, do you have to be cutthroat? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, if one team is doing it these days, being aggressive, you have to be to keep up with them.
Listen, again, I think you decide what your morals are going to be. You decide what the cutoff is for those things. You decide who and what you want to be as a program, and you pursue that. And to me, I have zero hard feelings on anybody else or any way they choose to operate their program. My job is to operate Miami the way we see fit, period. And listen, people can, obviously people don't love the recruiting part and all the different parts and recruiting kids young and portal and all these things. Like, I don't see it changing. So it's like any other thing. There's probably people who don't love that the 2-line pass was taken out. What you need to do is adjust accordingly. And, or if you decide, hey, that's just not the business you want to be in, it's not the business you want to be in.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think it's for us to know what the rules are and to act accordingly and do it within, like I said, our morals and our values, in our university structure and in the way we look at things. And I think that's going to be a little bit different for everybody.
I think the concern, I guess, why I ask these things is that there are no rules, it seems. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be you had a national letter of intent and, you had a gentleman's agreement, which has been out the window long ago at this point. But you know what I mean? So it's almost like the Wild West You get a guy, you think you got him, and then it's like, wait a minute,
But
So
I still think it's a relationship-based game.
yeah,
I still think, there are enough people out there making decisions for the right reasons. If you communicate with your players, if you communicate with your recruits, if you have relationships with their families, if you're open and honest with them and everybody's on the same page and they picked you for the right reason, I still think you could build a program, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that
I hear
to me
you.
is the key.
What's the philosophy, I guess? Because, players can come and go now whenever they feel like it. Obviously, you want to, like you said, relationships are important. By the same token, you bring in a bunch of new guys, maybe there'll be other guys next year they might you replace them with, right? So how are you looking at that going forward? It's going to be building blocks. You know what I mean? Like the guys 19 guys you brought in this year might not all be here next year.
Yeah, and listen, we feel like, okay, we need to be consistent in our recruiting philosophy. We want high character, high compete players that are coming here for the right reason, period. Guys who love Miami, guys who want to be part of what we're about to go through. So that's where it starts, okay? And then from there, we need to treat them extremely well. Doesn't mean we need to be overbearing, but we need to give them every resource they need to be successful, from a sports science department, from how we feed them, how we travel, our strength and conditioning program, our skill development, our video, our individual meetings, our communication with them, in just making them feel an important part of this, no matter what their minutes are, no matter what their points are. That is what we need to do. And that needs to happen with every single guy here, from when we bring them in till what the season feels like. And I think, listen, there are programs in the country you look at, and it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be a program that's in the Frozen Four or even top 10 every year. But there are programs when you look around that haven't lost guys in the portal. And I'm sure people have offered money and tried to get certain guys out. But if they feel like they're in a good spot where they feel important, they're trusted, they have every resource and everything they need to reach their goals and to develop, like, why would you leave? And if you could put a player and a family in that situation, I think you've got a really good chance to keep them.
you have a much
and,
more...
And then I also think you become attractive. Like, the hockey world's such a small world. Players talk, right?
Sure.
Families talk. A lot of these guys play in the same junior league. So I think if you could do that and you get a reputation for doing that, you then become a place that's sought after for young student athletes to come and be part of your program. Yep. Instead of you beating down the doors now, players are putting you on their initial list of a place that they're interested in.
Yeah. No, you definitely have a very optimistic outlook on it, which is great. I hope you feel that way in 5 years.
Listen, that's my choice, and that's just kind of who I am, and it's what it is. I think you could look at it any which way.
I hope it stays. That's great. I hope you don't have some moments where you're like, oh God, because that's what I hear from various coaches I've known a while. But
sure.
But anyway, that's back to the ice here. Like, some of the Mateo Drobak, I saw him this weekend against Denver. Just phenomenal. Obviously his numbers don't pop off the charts. He's facing a lot of shots. So did you. Was he what you expected him to be? Where is he?
We loved his background. Yeah. We're big believers that the goaltenders take a while to develop. David was the one. David Nye, our GM, was the first one who had seen him and brought him up. And he was a guy, again, listen, he played a lot of games in the OHL, played a year in youth sports. So it's like a little bit older, a little bit more developed, a little bit more like a portal guy than a true freshman, so to speak. And we liked his background. We liked his pedigree. We liked his athleticism. He's got good size. And we just felt like he was a guy that, based on his experience, would be able to step in and give us a chance every night. And I think he's done more than that. Like, he's been excellent for us. And, like, numbers aside, we feel like he's like I said, he's given us a chance every night, and at times even maybe stolen for us, which is you're going to have to do at this level.
I noticed, just again from watching the team, the last couple of weeks, I don't know if this is a coincidence or not, but all your forwards are over 6 feet tall, and your defensemen are like in the 5'10" range. So is that just a coincidence? I just thought that was funny.
I think it's a coincidence. I think if you look at what we've got, even some of our guys committed for the future and guys we got coming in, we got some bigger D coming in next year, and maybe some smaller forwards and some bigger forwards committed. So again, it was way more about the compete and the character and just having a chance to be impactful to our program than it was any specifics. I mean, when you're talking 21 new guys, we had to get a little bit creative while also not, breaking away from our core values of recruiting.
Right. Yeah, no, it just stood out as it was funny. Not many teams have their forwards all tall in their Ds.
I get it.
What was I going to say? How about Mateo Ciampa? I mean, comes from, again, maybe overlooked in the past. Guys, people question his numbers because he played at a smaller school and now comes here. So he's been phenomenal from what I can tell.
Yeah, and he's a guy that you don't always know how a guy from Atlantic hockey is gonna translate to the NCHC or vice versa. You know what I mean, or any conference. But I think it was pretty apparent to us early on, like his size, his speed, his skill, his athleticism. We strongly felt that it would translate no matter who we were playing in college hockey. He was one of our, not that I don't want to say surprise, because you only have seen him on video. So you know what I mean? You're not watching him firsthand, but watching him on video, we were impressed. And once you get him here, you're on the ice from firsthand. He was a guy we're like, all right, we think we got something here. And again, a kid that is uber talented, but his work level and the amount of time he puts in away from the rink, like he's a guy that's just going to keep getting better. Going forward,
I know you and everyone else, coaches talk about the process. I get it, but do you have what's a goal? I mean, is like a 4-year plan, 5-year? Do you have like a roadmap in mind to how this is going to go?
I mean, listen, when we came in here, year one was about establishing a culture and figuring out who could be part of the solution moving forward. Year two was obviously, now this is kind of the tear down and build up. And this year is about establishing that culture, like solidifying that culture, and making sure that we just have like an everyday approach. Like that is the most important thing. There's so much green here. Like as far as guys that haven't played the NCAA Division I level, haven't played in the NCHC, like we've got to use every day to try and get better. And that's in strength and conditioning. That's in practice. That's in our video sessions. And listen, we want to be highly competitive. Like that's, at the end of the day, if we could get through the season and say, hey, we were highly competitive every single game, we got strides, we took strides to get better. And we solidified our culture. We feel like that is a win, and that has nothing to do with wins or losses. And obviously the goal long-term is we want to be a team that is competitive night in and night out in the NCHC. And that's something we're going to continue working towards.
And you got the Great Lakes Invitational, which is another kind of milestone for Miami, I suppose.
Yeah. It's, again, being part of these playoff atmosphere type in-season tournaments are important. We wanted to feel playoff hockey. We wanted to feel, as close as you can get to, what hopefully someday an NCAA regional might feel like, playing two different teams on a weekend where they're playoff type games. And, we've got with just playing the Friendship Four and now going up to Grand Rapids, like we've got two chances to do that this season.
Get hurt in the game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
How you doing, by the way? What you been up to?
No, I'm doing great. I'm down here in Beverly, Massachusetts. About an hour and a half from UNH. So we attended the game Sunday up at UNH. Great game. That was a great game. Great college game.
Yeah, I watched it on TV.
Yeah. So retired, but enjoying it. And grandchildren. I got 9 grandchildren. So
wow,
there's plenty to kids to see as they're all getting older, though. So,
I know.
I'm just watching games now on TV and catch UNH whenever I can.
Yeah, I hear you. I was going to say, you play golf? Are you a golfer?
Yeah, I'm not a great golfer, but I play golf. I belong back in Melrose, hometown. belong to the club there and play a couple of days a week during the summertime. That's plenty for me. A good club, good guys, and I enjoy 2 days of golf, and that's enough for me. You know.
So no, I hear you. I mean, I moved to Denver 4 years ago, right after the pandemic, and just for a change of pace. You know, my kids went to college and all that, so I figured why not. But
why not?
And the weather out here is just so much better than people think. Right now, it's about 70 degrees. I just played golf a couple days ago.
We have good friends out in Montana that we visit quite often. And he said it was like 65 degrees there, maybe yesterday or the day before.
It's been like that for about a week out here right now.
Yeah, that's great.
Unfortunately, I got to work most of the days, but trying to get out, trying to escape because it's about 70 today. So.
No, you know what? My wife was. She lived out in Colorado Springs, and her dad was in the Air Force. So we spent time out there. And as a matter of fact, I met her. She was living in. Going to UNH, but she was living in Colorado Springs, which is absolutely beautiful out there. I love the Denver, Colorado Springs area.
So tell me, what was that? I mean, last Monday with all of you guys getting together, that had to be awesome.
It was unbelievable. It was really special. I mean, locally for guys that were involved in some way, whether you played there, you coached high school hockey, college hockey, you know, a lot of the guys came back. You know, Marty Pierce, one of the great high school non-hockey coaches. Billy Cleary was there, Jack Parker and Jerry York. And it was just fun to sit there and share the stories. And everybody had incredible stories of, you know, some of the games they played in, games that they won or lost at the arena, whether it was the state tournament. You know, we started freshman hockey. 5:30 in the morning then it was the Boston Arena.
Right.
It was like you went in there and after the freshman games, you'd stay in the arena all day because there were two different leagues that would play there. And you know, your parents would take your hockey bag home and you'd stay at the arena all day and then take the train home. You know, it was crazy.
So you played high school games, the whole 9 yards in there, everything, right?
The whole 9 yards. You know. Lost in the state tournament at the Boston Arena. They had, before they brought it to the Boston Garden,
right.
The Boston Arena was the place for the state tournament. And the place is just a fabulous arena, and it was always packed and exciting. It was a lot of stories, a lot of great memories at the Matthews Arena.
Yeah, what was, so tell me, what's the high school memory? What's the biggest one you have of that? How'd you guys do?
You know what? My high school memories. My older brother, who was like 5 years older than me, he played on one of the best high school teams. 1962, they won. Then it was the Middlesex League. Then the state tournament. They won the state tournament, and then we used to have the New England tournament, which was played down in Providence. But the final game of the state tournament in 1962, it was 2-1. Melrose beats Newton, and it was one of the all-time great high school events, and the crowds and the excitement. So to get to the arena, the Boston Arena state tournament was the big goal. When the goal for the team during the regular season, and it was always so special. Yeah,
for sure. Wow. I mean, no, I love the history stuff. You know,
we were all remembering our final game. I lost to Malden Catholic. I'll never forget it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Ed Kenty, who went on to become a very good player at BC. We lost my senior. That was the last game that I had played in there as a high school player, but obviously played a lot of games when I was at UNH, against BU, a couple of Christmas tournaments against some Western teams in there. So it was always a special building to go into and play or coach in the arena. Was awesome.
Yeah. So what about, so then when you were playing in college, I mean, were there any big games there then? I mean, it's just, I don't know if it was just regular games against Northeastern or what, but.
BU used to play their games there before they built Walter Brown. So, you'd play them there. You played Northeastern there.
Was BC still playing there? They had their own place by then, right?
Yeah, no, BC had their own place by then. But BU was, not much later, but later than that, you know.
Right.
But to play BU and play Northeastern always had. I mean, you went into that building against Northeastern. They were not only skilled team, but they were always tough, you know. And you'd go in there, and it was like an egg. The arena. It wasn't like UNH's rink, which was like an Olympic-sized rink.
Yeah, right.
So when you came down to play at Northeastern, it was it's just a hard bond to play.
Yeah, I think I saw you mention that one of maybe the Boston Globers, that egg shape to it. Where it's what did that? How did that affect things?
Well, it was different. I mean, you want to talk about you take a shot from the point. I mean, it went around the boards like, you know, and it was out the other end quickly.
Right.
Ben Smith, when he was the head coach at Northeastern, he's the one that changed the arena and made, you know, a regulation. And I think it's probably 90 by 200 now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah. So Monday must have been just amazing, Esther and all.
Oh,
I wish I could have been there.
Yeah, and Jimmy Madigan did a tremendous job putting it together and had us all there. And, you know, we talked before, and everybody was telling the stories, we had some coffee, and then you had an opportunity to go out and skate if you wanted to. And it was probably about 10 guys out of the 50 guys that went out on the ice. I happened to go out there, and it was special just to go out there and skate on the arena as the final skate for me at the arena and for a lot of people.
Yeah, when's the last time you skated?
Believe it or not, I have a lake house up in New Hampshire that last year might have been the best year for outdoor skating that we've had in maybe 20 years.
Wow.
It just happened that and I skated up on my lake a lot last year, but I helped out with a high school team for a couple of years, so I get out on the ice a little bit.
Oh, nice.
But I can tell you what, it was a little tough Monday skating. I had to be real careful.
I hear you. No, man, I wish I could have been there.
It was awesome.
Good to see Bill Cleary there. I mean, the guy's like sharp as a tack.
Unbelievable.
Still.
And, he walked in there and he was telling some stories. So, and as we all know, he's one of the all-time great American players.
Oh, yeah.
Probably ever laced them up.
Oh, absolutely. No, I think the Olympics are going to be in the same place where he played in '56.
Imagine that. I know.
That's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
So what about during your distinguished and long coaching career? I mean, I guess by that point, Northeastern wasn't a big program, for most of those years. But, I don't know if any games stand out from coaching.
Nah, I don't know if I can one particular game against Northeastern that all I know is always a tough one. But I love going into the building and stepping out there with the balcony and the dog pound and all that. And it was always special.
Well, I was going to say, you guys, you must hate what's going on right now in college sports, though, with all this craziness. You guys, you got out in the nick of time.
I don't know how. I don't know how the coaches are doing it. It's crazy. I mean, these guys, the transfer portal, and all of a sudden, you got a player on your team, and not only does he leave, but he's eligible to play right away.
Yeah, right.
All kinds of crazy.
It's crazy. I don't know either.
No, I don't. I'm not enjoying it. And I don't know if they are either.
Do you talk to Mike Souza much?
I stay in touch with him. Yeah, I stay in touch. Matter of fact, I spoke with him today. He's got a conference call tonight with the alumni, and he's doing a terrific job. And there's some excitement going there because they're going to put some money into the arena, which they need to do.
Right.
Especially nowadays with all the new facilities. There's a lot of nice arenas out there right now. And with all the bells and whistles, and that's what UNH has got to do, the weight rooms, lounges, and all that.
It's crazy what you got to do to keep up with the Joneses, though,
That's what you got to do. Otherwise, you're not going to get the players there. And it's always about players.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Mike, and I love talking to him. I've always, wished them well, but I know it's been, a struggle at times, but just, I guess because of that, right? It's not like it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing.
No, he's a very talented coach.
Yeah.
Believe, I brought him in. The deal was he came in and we signed a deal that he would take over when I left, and he's there, and he's done a terrific job. It's been up and down for him, but again, they got to put some money into the arena. They're having a pretty good season this year. I think they've won some big games. You look at the wins they've had against Michigan State, UConn, and they went up to Spain last week and pulled out a couple up there. And that's
Yeah.
One of the great bonds to play in.
Well, I was glad that they gave him more time, because I know that his contract was coming up and that kind of thing. And there was, so I didn't know what was going to happen there, but.
Yeah, I know. It's getting a little shaky there, but hey, they figured it out. They don't want to lose him.
Yeah. It's funny. I was in the Quad Cities for a few years as a broadcaster, late 90s, I guess, when I was coming up through the ranks, and one of the players on my team was Glenn Stewart. So go way back with Stewie. He was at that level, he was a ridiculous scorer, but
he had a shot.
Yeah,
he had a shot. He was one of the great goal scorers. He could shoot the puck, boy.
Yeah,
he's a great kid. He could handle the puck and put it in the net. That's for sure.
Well, what was your favorite story you heard on Monday? Who else was? There must have been some other ones. I'd love to have heard them all.
Well, when Jack Parker's talking, he's the great storyteller.
Right.
There's none better than Jack Parker. He's got a story for everything. If he's at your table, which he was at my table, and
right.
He starts talking, you sit back and enjoy the stories because they're incredible. I stay in contact with him, and we live kind of close together here. He's in Gloucester, like not far from Beverly here, so we get together and talk quite a bit. And he's just a great guy, but he's a great storyteller. He's got the stories, I'll tell you.
Everyone gets along better now that they're all retired, so none of the.
Oh yeah, yeah. Jack had told a story Monday. He says, "Oh yeah, when Dickie got the job at UNH, he said, I was so happy because now the referees. I knew he'd be all over the referees, and the referees would forget about him." Joe says that didn't happen, Jack.
Yeah. But anyway, no, I appreciate the time. Always good to talk to you.
No, it's great to talk with you.
And that was New Hampshire, or shall we say former New Hampshire coach Dick Umili. Always a pleasure to talk to these guys. I swear there's so many all over the country. They're still, like I always say, I've never met a happier person than a retired college hockey coach. Catching up with these guys. I mean, these so many guys who were head coaches when I was basically growing up with the sport and now retired. And it's always good to talk to them. I miss the grizzled old vets, and I'm sure the guys around now will be grizzled old vets one day, but it's a little different culture. Times always change. It is what it is. But, Dick Umili with his Boston accent, between him and Toot Cahoon and Joe Marsh, who used to be around all the time, was like, you couldn't help but start talking like this every now and then. But, so that was great to hear from him. All right, that's Matthews Arena is no more. And check out the articles on collegehockeynews.com. We had a couple of them about the history and then about the sort of the closing ceremonies. And there you go. And the next oldest arena now in college hockey is Baker Rink at Princeton, which I spent many years there. I was there when I was just out of college there. I was their broadcaster for 4 years, in case you didn't know. And not sure if anyone was listening, but we did a lot of good stuff there in that time, and my feet are still frozen from standing in the Baker Rink press box back in the day. Used to go there a lot even after those times. And I don't know, I'm one of the people who, it has its charms, but I was always so cold in there that I do not miss it. Okay? I do not miss Baker Rink. I know other people love it. It's cool. It's got the architecture. It's old. Hobie Baker did not play there, but it's named after him. And anyway, it's all good. It's all good. I do have a fondness for Princeton, as it were, still to this day. But we don't hear from them as much. Hopefully, we'll see. They're not playing badly this year. But one of the last things before we go is I've talked about this before, and it's like not to burst the bubble of Northeastern, but for many years they've always touted as the oldest hockey arena. It was a little bit fudged, just because, unfortunately, as as someone who's done research on this, many arenas, hockey arenas, burned down, like in the late 19th century, straight up to the 50s. Just mostly in the early 20th century, but even up for a while. There was an arena in Albuquerque, New Mexico that they played college hockey games in 1948, and it burned down a few years later. That was it. it's amazing, actually, how many burned down. So Matthews Arena, which was Boston Arena back then, was one of them, built in 1910, burned down in 1918, and then they rebuilt it. So there was often a little bit of like, I don't know. They certainly never mention that about that point, because there is an arena built in 1913 that is still actually in use, called the Calumet Coliseum in Upper Peninsula of Michigan. But I was always like amazed when I found that out myself, because I was like, what? Because you've always heard like, wait, Matthews is the oldest, but it is the oldest in many ways. It's the oldest multi-purpose facility, the oldest facility used in college hockey, and of course, it has so many other legendary things about it. The fact that the first NHL game in the United States was played there with the Boston Bruins, and the fact that it was the home for the four major Boston area college hockey teams all played home games there at one point. It's where Reggie Lewis is, a Northeastern alum, Boston Celtic, who tragically passed away. They had the memorial ceremony for him. I was reading some old stuff that someone had dug up a couple of years ago, which was just brilliant research, by the way. It was only on Twitter, so I was like tracking it down. But that Muhammad Ali had trained in the building for a bit, and that Babe Ruth once skated there and didn't really take a liking to hockey. Didn't happen very. This was back in his early days when he was playing for Boston. So just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff that really surpasses anything. So much history, but just that one part about being the oldest, that just making sure we set the record straight on that. But there you go. We'll move on, and that's going to do it. There's, by the way, as far as the week coming up, there's just one set of games. It's Omaha at Augustana, so big weekend for the Vikings at home to see if they could solidify that MPI spot, and that is it. And then we'll get to the holidays, and as for this show, we'll have another show next week. We're expecting to have Shane Malloy on from NHL Prospect Radio to discuss the World Juniors and next year's draft. Those are always his big topics, so always good to hear from him on that, just the whole state of junior hockey in general, since he is a Canadian and lives up there and is well tuned in with that, of course. So we'll talk to him. Good, will be good to hear from him. And so until then, so long.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. To submit your listener questions, please send them to @CHN News on X. And for the best college hockey content around, including features, the CHN Team of the Week, stats, rankings, and so much more, visit us at collegehockeynews.com. Until next time, we hope you enjoy all of this week's great on-ice action, and we'll be back to break it down on our next edition. For Adam Woden and Mike McMahon, this has been the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.